So Diana Taurasi, who just announced that she was retiring yesterday, goes on The View today and takes a little jab at Whoopi Goldberg. So there is not a lot going on in the world of women's basketball, except yesterday was an actual big day for Diana Taurasi as her retirement was officially announced. Whether or not you do like Diana Taurasi, she is an absolute great of the game and has added so much to the world of women's basketball and did appear on The View today as a guest. So I thought, hey, I'll turn it on. I have never watched The View. I know about The View because I pretty much don't live under a rock, but The View is a very politically motivated show very often, and that is the kind of stuff that I like to just shy away from. But let me tell you, getting through the first few minutes of that show, waiting for Diana Taurasi's segment, wasn't for the faint of heart. But that's neither here nor there, because I did just turn on the show to see what Diana would say about her retirement, how this is just something that would bring up the WNBA. I know that they would talk about Caitlin Clark, so I was very interested in that, so I turned it on. And let me tell you, I don't think these ladies know much about basketball in general, because as Whoopi introduces her, she mispronounces her name, which, whatever, that's fine, I guess, but I mean, in my opinion, if you're going to be like a commentator and introduce a guest, you probably want to understand how to say their name. And she fumbles the pronunciation of her last name. And so then Diana Taurasi comes back and kind of takes a little bit of a fun jab right back at her.
The Phoenix Mercury, Diana Taurasi. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Whoopi. Whoopi.
That's the same.
So yeah, I think that was just all in good fun. Everybody around her was laughing. To me, it was the best part of the segment. And there was a lot of speculation that the show would maybe not bring out the best light of the polarizing facets of the WNBA, and especially with the view that The View takes on a lot of things and a lot of politically oriented subject matter. But they actually didn't go down that path at all. But honestly, this was a pretty standard issue, run-of-the-mill type interview. Nothing crazy came up. Of course, Caitlin Clark's name did come up, but it wasn't in a very focal point way. It was just kind of about the next generation and why this rookie class, general rookie class, is so pumped up, and what the differences are between her generation and the new generation now. And here's pretty much what she said.
Which, that's the thing that's always been the most important, is visibility.
Yeah.
When you learn about these athletes at an early age, like we are now with the Caitlin Clarks and the Angel Reeses and the Pages, you get to follow their stories, which they did, in the 90s and 2000s, but not at the length with social media.
Yeah.
And that light is really what's going to make this sport go forward.
And the next generation of players.
And this next generation is bullish.
Yeah.
They don't just shut up and dribble like we did. They're loud.
Well, that's what America has to recognize. One of the great things is that women have changed.
Yeah. Yes.
And the okie doke doesn't work for them anymore. So all those ways that people say, well, we got you.
Right.
No, they're saying, no. We see how you do it now. We've watched it, and there's no reason you can't do it with us. And I'm telling you, women's sports from around the world, getting what used to be tops, the bubblegum cards, getting those for women.
Yep.
That is what I want to see for all women in sports, because unless you have the visibility, they're not going to talk about it.
You mean an all women sports network, you've created?
Something like that would be good. Andre, what do you think?
So it was pretty clean, pretty non-controversial, pretty run-of-the-mill. There was also discussions about the inequality in the pay of the NBA versus the WNBA, which is quite vast. And there is a reason, and I think at this point in time that will and should you just only go up. But there was one moment in the interview when Diana Taurasi talked about when she had to go to Russia for 10 consecutive years because they get paid better in Russia than they do in America. And the statement she said was, "It's interesting that you have to go to a communist country to get a capitalist salary." And that was more food for thought, but I do only see the WNBA going up and growing. And while this interview was just pretty okay and really fun to watch, nothing like incredibly special, I do like that it is getting more recognition for the WNBA as a league to grow. And when they did ask Diana Taurasi about what her plans were after her retirement, she didn't really have any. I think that I saw at one point she was asked a few months ago about this, and she just said to find an island with a lot of coffee. But I can see her commentating. I can see her possibly like going into coaching at some point. Who knows? And while, yes, Diana Taurasi saying reality is coming, that was a bad take. But you know what? I am not going to define her career by that take. I think that was like the general sentiment and the truth of what most people encounter when entering from the college level to the WNBA. But, most people aren't Caitlin Clark either. And I think the reason that a lot of people, myself included, got magnetized to her game was because she did blow us away. She did defy what we thought was possible in the sport of women's basketball. But Diana Taurasi has had an amazing career. I don't want to compare her to Caitlin Clark because she is her own being, and when she was coming up in the league, things were very different. But it's impossible to discount what she has done for the WNBA, like dropping 42 points in a finals game. That's amazing. She has had some amazing clutch moments. The accolades are endless. And she didn't want to make a big deal about her retirement, even though she knew in the last Mercury game that she played, that was going to be her last game, because there is a video that the Mercury posted yesterday from right after that game where she made a speech, a very heartfelt, tear-jerking speech to her team, basically letting them know how much she appreciates them. This was it. She doesn't want to do a victory tour. And kudos to them for not leaking this. Nobody in the entire locker room leaking this to the press. But really, after Brittany Griner leaving and all of the moves that they made with the high salaries that they're paying for the players that they brought in, for Satu Sabally, for Alyssa Thomas, they obviously knew and planned accordingly. And in case you're wondering about the video, take a look at it.
Good season.
Yes.
Really good season. All right. DT, if this is it,
yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes. I just want to say I really appreciate everyone in this locker room. I didn't want to say anything because I want it to be about us and our team going forward, but this has been one of the best years I've ever played in the WNBA because of every single one of you guys, and I really appreciate it. I'll always remember it, every single one of you guys, and never take it for granted because it is the best job in the world to play a sport that you play when you were a little kid. And I love you guys and thank you for everything. I love you.
Caitlin Clark herself had a pretty awesome response that she posted to social media, basically reposting the news of her retirement with just one word: legend. She even acknowledged Diana Taurasi as her favorite competitor in the WNBA in this Nike video.
You got to match up against other Nike hoopers. Do you have a favorite matchup?
You're gonna get me in trouble. Honestly, I'll just say DT because she's such an icon in our sport and has been in the game for so long. Getting to share the court with her was pretty fun, and you just see her competitive spirit. Even though you're not on her team, you can just feel it as a competitor.
So I think that there's a lot of respect there. It's kind of like one of those passing the torch moments, legend of the past, legend of the future. And the Phoenix Mercury themselves, they even acknowledged Caitlin Clark's post on their social media. But there's something to be said about a player who was drafted to a team in her first season and played with that team for 20 consecutive years. That's loyalty.